What would you like me to drink?
You wouldn't dare. It's too American.
But I love America. Whiskey and soda and rock and roll.
Time moves differently when you're watching old movies. The faces on screen seem frozen, forever young, forever brilliant. But behind those images, the real people are aging, and some are closer to the end than most of us realize. These are the 33 classic Hollywood stars who are dying and you didn't know. Number 33, Margaret O'Brien, age 89. Margaret O'Brien was a child star in the truest, most gifted sense of the word. At age 6, she appeared in Meet Me in St. Louis, 1944, alongside Judy Garland, giving a performance of such emotional depth and naturalness that the Academy gave her a special juvenile Oscar that year. She was briefly the biggest child star in Hollywood, genuinely beloved, not simply famous. The transition to adult roles proved difficult, as it does for most child stars, and she largely stepped away from film in the 1950s and 1960s, though she continued appearing on television and in occasional film roles for decades. At 89, she remains one of the last surviving links to the golden era of the MGM musical, a connection to a world that has almost entirely disappeared. Number 32, Ann Blyth, age 97. Ann Blyth was 16 when Universal signed her, and 18 when she played the malicious Veda in Mildred Pierce, 1945, opposite Joan Crawford, a performance that earned her an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress and announced a serious talent to the industry. What followed was a career that mixed drama and musical films through the 1950s, including The Great Caruso, 1951, with Mario Lanza. At 97, Blyth is one of the last surviving actresses with a direct working connection to the classic studio system. She has lived quietly in California for decades, rarely appearing publicly, but remaining a beloved figure among classic film enthusiasts who know exactly how good she was. Number 31, Lee Grant, believed to be in her late 90s. Lee Grant's career was interrupted for 12 years by the Hollywood blacklist. In 1952, she refused to testify against her husband before the House Un-American Activities Committee, and the industry punished her for it. When she returned, she came back with full force, winning the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress for Shampoo, 1975, and later directing the Academy Award-winning documentary Down and Out in America, 1986. At 99, Grant is among the oldest surviving members of Hollywood's post-war generation. She has been largely out of public view in recent years, her last screen appearance coming in a voiceover role in 2020. The story of what the blacklist did to her career and what she built in spite of it is one of the great untold stories of mid-century Hollywood. Number 30, Claire Bloom, age 95. Claire Bloom made her Hollywood entrance opposite Charlie Chaplin in Limelight, 1952, a debut that would be remarkable for any actress at any age. She was 21. From there, she built one of the most distinguished careers in both British and American cinema. Richard III, 1955, with Laurence Olivier, The Haunting, 1963, and The Spy Who Came In From the Cold, 1965, with Richard Burton. She built an equally acclaimed career on stage and television, earning Emmy nominations well into her later years. At 95, Bloom has largely stepped back from public life, but remains one of the most elegant survivors of a generation that is nearly gone. Number 29, Eva Marie Saint, age 101. Eva Marie Saint won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress for her very first film role, On the Waterfront, 1954, alongside Marlon Brando. That kind of debut is essentially unheard of. She followed it with North by Northwest, 1959, one of the great Hitchcock films, holding her own opposite Cary Grant in a role that required intelligence and genuine screen presence in equal measure. At 101, she is the oldest surviving actress from the classic Hollywood era and turns 102 in July 2026. She stepped back from on-screen roles after 2014's Winter's Tale, but has continued to engage with the world in other ways. She is a living thread connecting the present moment to On the Waterfront, Elia Kazan, and Marlon Brando. And that is something worth thinking about. Number 28, Kim Novak, age 92. Kim Novak was Columbia Pictures' answer to the blonde bombshell archetype of the mid-1950s. Extraordinary physical beauty, carefully packaged by the studio for maximum effect. She became a star despite the studio's management of her rather than because of it. Her best work came opposite William Holden in Picnic, 1955, and in Hitchcock's Vertigo, 1958, widely considered one of the greatest films ever made. Her performance in Vertigo, layered, ambiguous, and quietly devastating, has been reassessed over the decades as one of the most complex in 1950s Hollywood. After the mid-1960s, Novak stepped away from acting and relocated to rural Oregon, where she has lived for decades, painting, sculpting, and appearing publicly only rarely. At 92, she is among the most private surviving stars of her era, and arguably one of its most underappreciated. Number 27. Tippi Hedren, age 95. Tippi Hedren was discovered by Alfred Hitchcock while appearing in a television commercial and cast as the lead in The Birds, 1963, with no prior acting experience. Hitchcock's methods on that production have been well documented. The use of live birds in close-up sequences left the cast and crew in genuine danger, and Hedren was not spared. She later wrote at length about Hitchcock's controlling behavior toward her throughout filming and afterward. Despite the difficulties, the birds made her a star, and Marnie, 1964, followed. When Hollywood largely moved on, Hedren pivoted to animal rights advocacy, founding the Shambhala Preserve in Acton, California, a big cat sanctuary she has operated for decades. At 95, she is the matriarch of a three-generation Hollywood dynasty. Her daughter is Melanie Griffith. Her granddaughter is Dakota Johnson. Number 26. Mel Brooks, age 99. Mel Brooks turns 100 on June 28, 2026. The man who made The Producers, 1967, Blazing Saddles, 1974, Young Frankenstein, 1974, and Spaceballs, 1987, is still, by most accounts, sharp and fully himself. A two-part documentary, Mel Brooks, the 99-year-old man, directed by Judd Apatow, premiered on HBO in January 2026 to near universal acclaim, 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Brooks is one of a small handful of entertainers to have achieved EGOT status. He has spoken candidly about the losses of his later years. His wife, actress Anne Bancroft, died in 2005. His closest friend, Carl Reiner, died in 2020. He has also spoken about laughter as the thing that keeps him going. He is still working on a Spaceballs sequel. At 99, that qualifies as a statement of intent. Number 25. Dick Van Dyke, age 100. Dick Van Dyke turned 100 on December 13, 2025, one of the few centenarians in Hollywood history. The man who played Bert the Chimney Sweep in Mary Poppins, 1964, and anchored The Dick Van Dyke Show, 1961 to 1966, one of the finest television comedies ever made, has been remarkably candid about what aging at this level actually feels like. He has described feeling physically and socially diminished, relying on canes for mobility, and missing the freedom of movement that defined his performing life. Dancing, above almost everything else, is what he says he misses most. He still goes to the gym 3 times a week. He told reporters that 100 years is simply not enough, and that he plans to keep going. At 100, that is not bravado. It's just who he is. The man danced his way through Mary Poppins at 38, made television history through his 40s, and turned 100 with the same basic disposition he appears to have had his entire life. Cheerful, present, and not especially interested in stopping. He is the longest living major star in Hollywood history. Whatever that means, it means something. Number 24. Rita Moreno, age 94. Rita Moreno arrived in Hollywood in the early 1950s from Puerto Rico and spent much of her first decade being handed stereotypes: fiery, exotic, expendable. Then came West Side Story, 1961, and her performance as Anita won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress, making her the first Latina to win the honor. From there, she built one of the most varied and enduring careers in American entertainment, eventually achieving full EGOT status: Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony. She appeared in Steven Spielberg's remake of West Side Story in 2021 at age 89 and gave the film one of its finest moments. At 94, she remains one of the most active surviving stars of her generation, still working and still impossible to ignore when she enters a room. Her career arc, from being handed one-dimensional roles in the 1950s to EGOT achievement and genuine cultural icon status, is one of the great stories of perseverance in American entertainment. She did it entirely on talent and an absolute refusal to disappear. Number 23. William Shatner, age 94. William Shatner is 94 years old, which means he was already 36 when Star Trek first aired in 1966. A fact that is somehow surprising every time. In 2021, at age 90, he became the oldest person to travel to space on a Blue Origin rocket, a journey he described afterward with unexpected emotional depth, speaking about looking back at Earth and feeling an overpowering sense of grief at its fragility. At 94, he remains active, making appearances, working on projects, receiving a Lifetime Achievement Saturn Award in 2025. He received his Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan tour in the US that same year. His energy at this age is, by any reasonable standard, entirely implausible. He appears to find that amusing. Number 22. Sophia Loren, age 91. Sophia Loren is one of the last surviving members of the AFI's 100 Years, 100 Stars list of Hollywood legends, the list that named the greatest film stars of classical American cinema. Born in poverty in Naples, she became one of the most recognizable faces on Earth, and she did it entirely on her own terms. Her performance in Two Women, 1961, made her the first actor to win an Academy Award for a foreign language film role. She starred opposite Cary Grant, Frank Sinatra, and Peter Sellers, and remained a vital screen presence well into her later years. She suffered a serious fall at her home in Geneva in 2020, requiring hip surgery and an extended recovery. At 91, she has largely withdrawn from public life. She is the last living legend of the golden era in the most literal sense possible. Number 21, Carol Burnett, age 92. Carol Burnett spent 11 years, from 1967 to 1978, anchoring The Carol Burnett Show, a live variety program that she was simultaneously its star, driving force, and creative backbone. The show ran for 279 episodes and earned 25 Emmy Awards. It remains one of the most beloved programs in American television history, and it was built around her specifically. Her comedy, her warmth, her extraordinary ability to make everything look effortless. At 92, she is still working. In 2024, she appeared in Palm Royale on Apple TV+, a performance that reminded audiences why she was the best at what she did, and had her handprints added to the forecourt of Grauman's Chinese Theater in Hollywood, a ceremony she attended and genuinely appeared to enjoy. She is sharp, present, and characteristically herself, the quality that made The Carol Burnett Show work. The ability to be funny without making it look like effort is still there. It has never really gone anywhere. Number 20. Clint Eastwood, age 95. Clint Eastwood turned 95 on May 31st, 2025. He began his career in 1959 on the television series Rawhide, became an international star through Sergio Leone's Dollars trilogy in the 1960s, and then rebuilt himself entirely as a filmmaker, winning Academy Awards for Unforgiven, 1992, and Million Dollar Baby, 2004. His most recent directorial effort, Juror Number 2, 2024, starring Nicholas Hoult and Toni Collette, was described by many as his final film. His son Scott has said he is in good health. His longtime partner, Christina Sandera, died in July 2024, a personal loss that those close to him have noted with care. At 95, Eastwood has outlasted nearly every peer from his generation and, by all available accounts, has no intention of stopping. Number 19. Gene Hackman, age 95. Gene Hackman retired from acting in 2004 and has kept that retirement more thoroughly than almost any star of his stature. There have been no cameos, no comeback appearances, no public presence of any significance. He lives in Santa Fe, New Mexico, where he paints, writes, and by all available accounts, enjoys the quiet life he chose. His career before retirement included The French Connection, 1971, which won him the Academy Award for Best Actor, The Conversation, 1974, The French Connection 2, 1975, Mississippi Burning, 1988, Unforgiven, 1992, his second Oscar for Best Supporting Actor, and The Royal Tenenbaums, 2001. He was, by wide consensus, one of the finest film actors of the 20th century. He also won a second Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for Unforgiven. At 95, he is one of the most famous people alive that almost no one has seen in over 2 decades. The combination, the sheer magnitude of the work, the complete and deliberate nature of the withdrawal, is genuinely unusual in any era of celebrity, and especially unusual in an era when celebrity tends to demand constant maintenance. Number 18. Shirley MacLaine, age 91. Shirley MacLaine has never done anything the expected way. She made her entrance in The Trouble with Harry, 1955, for Hitchcock, became a major dramatic star with Some Came Running, 1958, and won the Academy Award for Best Actress for Terms of Endearment, 1983. In between, she has written at length about her spiritual beliefs, past lives, extraterrestrial encounters, metaphysical exploration, to reactions that have ranged from rapturous to skeptical and that have never seemed to concern her particularly. At 91, she lives quietly in New Mexico and remains one of the most unconventional and distinctive voices of her generation. She has been in Hollywood long enough to have watched the entire architecture of the industry she grew up in change beyond recognition, the studio system, the blockbuster era, the streaming revolution. Through all of it, she has remained fully, defiantly herself. That, in the end, may be the achievement she is most proud of. It is certainly the one that is hardest to replicate. Number 17. Julie Andrews, age 90. Julie Andrews' singing voice was one of the great instruments in the history of the American musical. It was removed in 1997 during surgery to address vocal cord nodules, a procedure that went wrong, leaving her unable to sing professionally. The loss was devastating in ways she has written and spoken about with honesty and without self-pity. What she did after 1997 was adapt. Film roles, children's books, voice work, advocacy. At 90, she remains one of the most beloved figures in entertainment, and Mary Poppins, 1964, and The Sound of Music, 1965, the two films most associated with her, show no signs of aging out of the cultural conversation. They never will. Number 16. James Hong, age 97. James Hong has appeared in over 700 film and television productions across more than 7 decades, a number that makes him arguably the most prolific character actor in Hollywood history. Born in Minneapolis on February 22, 1929, to Chinese immigrant parents, he began his career in the early 1950s at a time when Asian American actors were routinely passed over for leading roles in favor of white actors wearing prosthetics. He took the work that was available, honed his craft, and outlasted every barrier the industry put in front of him. His credits include Chinatown, 1974, Blade Runner, 1982, Big Trouble in Little China, 1986, Mulan, 1998, and Everything Everywhere All at Once, 2022, the last of which won him a Screen Actors Guild Award alongside its ensemble cast and introduced him to an entirely new generation of audiences at age 93. He co-founded East West Players in 1965, the first Asian American theater organization in the United States, long before Hollywood began any serious conversation about representation. In 2022, he became the oldest person ever to receive a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. At 97, he is still working, still present, and shows no particular interest in stopping. As he told one interviewer, "My wife wants me to go to a retirement home soon, but I don't think I'm fit for that." Number 15. Liza Minnelli, age 79. Liza Minnelli won the Academy Award for Best Actress for Cabaret, 1972, a performance of such focus and emotional intensity that it has never quite been surpassed as a portrait of a character living fully in the present tense as a defense against everything closing in around her. Her mother was Judy Garland. Her father was director Vincente Minnelli. The weight of that inheritance could have crushed her. She turned it into fuel. Her health has been seriously challenged in recent years. Viral encephalitis in 2000, a stroke in 2008, multiple surgeries, and extended periods of withdrawal from public life. In 2024, she was too unwell to travel from Beverly Hills to New York for the Tribeca Film Festival premiere of a documentary about her life. She appeared in the season 17 finale of RuPaul's Drag Race in 2025 to receive a Legacy Award, a rare and warmly received public appearance. Her half-sister Lorna Luft confirmed in late 2025 that she is doing well and staying connected with loved ones. At 79, she is among the youngest on this list, but few careers have been tested as severely. Number 14. Robert Duvall, age 94. Robert Duvall has been making films for over 60 years and has never once appeared to be doing anything less than exactly what he intended. Tom Hagen in The Godfather, 1972. Lieutenant Colonel Kilgore in Apocalypse Now, 1979. Max Sledge in Tender Mercies, 1983. the last of which won him the Academy Award for Best Actor, are performances that have held up as models of restraint and precision. At 94, Duvall has continued to work in independent films, most recently appearing in Hustle, 2022. He lives on a farm in Virginia and has spoken frequently about his love of Argentine tango, which he has practiced for decades. He is one of the last great character actors of his generation still making films. Number 13. Warren Beatty, age 87. Warren Beatty has not appeared in a film since Rules Don't Apply, 2016, which he also wrote and directed. He is 87. His filmography: Bonnie and Clyde, 1967, Shampoo, 1975, Heaven Can Wait, 1978, Reds, 1981, Dick Tracy, 1990, Bulworth, 1998, represents one of the most distinctive bodies of work from Hollywood's New Wave era. He won the Academy Award for Best Director for Reds in 1982, a film he also produced, wrote, and starred in. In recent years, he has been largely absent from public life, and a number of sexual misconduct allegations that emerged from 2017 onward have cast a long and complicated shadow over his legacy. His last public appearance of any real significance was a brief appearance at the 2018 Academy Awards to present the Best Picture Award, an appearance that itself became memorable for the wrong reasons, as it took place just months after the Oscars read out the wrong winner in the same category the previous year. At 87, he is one of the most quietly diminished figures from Hollywood's last great generation, a filmmaker of genuine ambition and a career that deserved a different ending. Number 12. Morgan Freeman, age 87. Morgan Freeman won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for $1 Million Baby, 2004. Before that came Street Smart, 1987, Driving Miss Daisy, 1989, The Shawshank Redemption, 1994, C7N, 1995, and Amistad, 1997, among dozens of others. His voice became one of the most recognized in American cinema. The frequency of his narration work alone would constitute a legacy. In 2008, Freeman was seriously injured in a car accident in Mississippi that required surgery and left him with permanent nerve damage in his left arm and hand, which has caused him chronic pain since. At 87, he continues to work at a reduced pace, though his career output remains considerable. He remains one of the most recognizable figures in the world. Number 11. Dustin Hoffman, age 87. Dustin Hoffman came to national attention with The Graduate, 1967, and Midnight Cowboy, 1969, in back-to-back years, establishing himself as the defining actor of a generation and the face that told audiences the old rules of stardom had changed. He won Academy Awards for Kramer vs. Kramer, 1979, and Rain Man, 1988, and built a body of work that spans 5 decades and includes some of the most demanding performances in American film. At 87, Hoffman has been largely absent from public life in recent years. His last major film appearance was in The Meyerowitz Stories, 2017. Sexual harassment allegations that emerged in 2017, which he denied, significantly altered his public standing. He remains a private figure. Number 10. Ann-Margret, age 84. Ann-Margret arrived in Hollywood in the early 1960s with an energy the screen could barely contain, a combination of dancer, singer, actress, and force of nature that her early films captured enthusiastically. Bye Bye Birdie, 1963, Viva Las Vegas, 1964, with Elvis Presley, and Carnal Knowledge, 1971, for which she received her first Academy Award nomination, showed the range. Tommy, 1975, earned her a second nomination and demonstrated she was willing to commit completely to challenging material. At 84, she continues to make occasional public appearances and remains one of the most genuinely beloved entertainers of her era. The warmth her audiences have always brought her has been consistent and genuine for over 60 years. Number 9. Al Pacino, age 85. Al Pacino made The Godfather in 1972 when he was 31 years old. He has been one of the defining actors in American cinema for more than 50 years since. His Academy Award for Best Actor came for Scent of a Woman, 1992, but his defining work is spread across Serpico, 1973, Dog Day Afternoon, 1975, and Justice for All, 1979, Scarface, 1983, Heat, 1995, and many others. In 2023, at age 83, he became a father again. His son Roman was born in June of that year with his partner Noor Al-Falah. At 85, he remains publicly active and continues to work at a pace that reflects genuine commitment rather than obligation. His cameo appearances and supporting roles in recent years still draw attention because he is still Pacino, still capable of filling a frame in a way most actors study and cannot replicate. He shows no interest in stepping back from the camera, and the camera has not lost interest in him. Number 8. Jane Fonda, age 87. Jane Fonda has reinvented herself so many times that each version threatens to eclipse the previous one. Her film career produced 2 Academy Awards for Best Actress, Clute, 1971, and Coming Home, 1978, and her personal life has been as public and controversial as any in Hollywood history. She has been an activist, a fitness entrepreneur, a memoirist, and an actress of genuine range, sometimes simultaneously. In September 2022, she announced she had been diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and began chemotherapy. In May 2023, she announced the cancer was in remission, news she delivered with the same directness she has brought to everything. She has spoken with frank clarity about her health, her age, and what she intends to do with the time she has. At 87, she continues to work, to advocate, and to engage publicly on issues she cares about. Fonda has always treated her life as something to be fully inhabited rather than carefully managed, and that approach has not changed. Number 7. Jack Nicholson, age 87. Jack Nicholson has not appeared in a film since How Do You Know, 2010. He is 87 years old and has been living quietly in his longtime home in the Mulholland area of Los Angeles. The man who made Chinatown, 1974, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, 1975, The Shining, 1980, Terms of Endearment, 1983, Batman, 1989, and As Good as It Gets, 1997, 3 Academy Awards, 12 nominations, a career that defined an era, has essentially disappeared from public view. He was, at his peak in the 1970s, the most charismatic screen presence in American cinema. Audiences went to see him specifically. Directors built projects around him. He made being difficult look like a form of art. The energy he brought to One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and The Shining in particular, is of a kind that has no real contemporary equivalent. People close to him have spoken about his health in measured, careful terms in recent years, and there have been persistent reports of memory difficulties that have not been officially confirmed. At 87, he is the most famous recluse in Hollywood. Whatever is happening behind the gates of his Mulholland home, the silence itself is notable from a man who was never, in any public setting, quiet about anything. Number 6. Harrison Ford, age 82. Harrison Ford turned 82 in July 2024 and shows considerably less interest in slowing down than men 20 years younger. He starred as Indiana Jones for the 5th and final time in Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, 2023, and took the lead role in the Paramount Plus series 1923 beginning in 2022, playing Jacob Dutton in the Yellowstone prequel with an authority that left no doubt about his dramatic range. He has had genuine health scares, a cardiac incident during filming in 2014, and a shoulder injury requiring surgery in 2023. He holds a pilot's license and has been involved in several small aircraft incidents over the years. At 82, he remains one of the most commercially viable stars in Hollywood, which is a sentence that is almost impossible to fully absorb. Number 5. Robert De Niro, age 81. Robert De Niro became a father for the 7th time in April 2023 at age 79. He has spoken publicly about his intention to keep working. His career includes Mean Streets, 1973, The Godfather Part 2, 1974, Taxi Driver, 1976, Raging Bull, 1980, which won him the Academy Award for Best Actor, and Goodfellas, 1990, among scores of others spanning half a century. At 81, De Niro continues to work at a pace that many younger actors do not match. He has spoken candidly in recent years about financial pressures that make retirement an option he is not considering. His name on a project still carries weight, still opens doors, and he knows that and uses it. The gap between Raging Bull and The Intern is wide, but it is the gap of a career lived fully, not one abandoned. He remains one of the most recognizable and productive actors alive. Number 4. Barbra Streisand, age 83. Barbra Streisand has won an Oscar, 2 Tonys, 10 Grammys, 5 Emmys, and a Presidential Medal of Freedom. Her voice is one of the most recognizable in the history of American music. Her film career: Funny Girl, 1968, The Way We Were, 1973, A Star Is Born, 1976, and Yentl, 1983, which she also directed, represents a creative range that most artists in a single medium never approach. She published a memoir, My Name is Barbara, in October 2023, nearly 1,000 pages long. She performed a series of concerts in 2023 and 2024 that sold out immediately. At 83, she remains publicly engaged and vocally present on matters she cares about. The 2023 memoir covered everything from her childhood and early career to her relationships and creative battles with a level of detail and candor that surprised even longtime admirers. It is the book of someone who has decided that the record should be complete. Whatever farewell she eventually intends to make, it has not happened yet. Number 3. Francis Ford Coppola, age 85. Francis Ford Coppola made The Godfather, 1972, The Conversation, 1974, The Godfather Part 2, 1974, and Apocalypse Now, 1979, within a single decade. That output, in terms of both quality and lasting cultural impact, is arguably unmatched in the history of American cinema. In 2024, at 85, he released Megalopolis, a film he had been trying to make for over 40 years and financed largely himself at a reported cost of approximately $120 million of his own money. The film received divided reviews and a difficult theatrical release. The ambition behind it, regardless of outcome, was staggering. At 85, Coppola is still reaching for something that most directors stopped chasing decades ago: the willingness to risk $120 million of his own money on a personal artistic vision. At 85 is either the most admirable thing a filmmaker has done in years or the most reckless, and possibly both at once. Whatever the final verdict on Megalopolis turns out to be, what he already made across those 4 films in the 1970s is permanent. It was always going to be. Number 2. Diane Keaton, age 79. Diane Keaton won the Academy Award for Best Actress for Annie Hall, 1977, a film that also defined a generation's image of what romantic comedy could look like and feel like. Her career from there included Manhattan, 1979, Reds, 1981, Shoot the Moon, 1982, The Godfather Trilogy, and Something's Gotta Give, 2003. At 79, Keaton remains publicly active and characteristically herself, unpredictable in interviews, honest about aging, unwilling to perform contentment she doesn't feel or optimism she hasn't earned. She still has a way of saying something completely unexpected in a public setting and somehow making it feel like the most natural thing in the conversation. She is among the younger figures on this list, but her connection to the golden generation of 1970s New Hollywood, to Woody Allen, to Warren Beatty, to the films of The Godfather and Annie Hall, makes her an essential presence in any conversation about that era. There is no one quite like her, and there hasn't been since. Number 1. Richard Dreyfuss, age 77. Richard Dreyfuss was everywhere in the 1970s in a way that is genuinely hard to convey to anyone who wasn't watching. American Graffiti, 1973, Jaws, 1975, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, 1977, and The Goodbye Girl, 1977, for which he won the Academy Award for Best Actor at age 30, making him the youngest winner of that award at the time, all within a span of 4 years. It was one of the most extraordinary sustained runs of any actor in Hollywood history, and it placed him at the center of the defining films of his generation. He worked with Steven Spielberg on 3 of those films, building one of the most productive director-actor relationships of the decade. His energy on screen, nervous, specific, funny, deeply present, was the right frequency for what Spielberg was making and for what audiences in the mid-1970s responded to. He has spoken publicly over the years about his struggles with addiction and bipolar disorder and about the years he lost to both. He has also been involved in public controversies regarding comments he made in 2023, which generated significant criticism. At 77, he is among the younger figures on this list, but his connection to the 1970s New Hollywood generation and to the specific, unrepeatable kind of American cinema that era produced makes his presence here both fitting and a little melancholy. The films he made during that extraordinary decade are still being watched by new audiences who have no idea what the world looked like when they were made. That's the thing about great work. It keeps going long after the moment has passed, and long after the people who made it have moved on. 33 names, 33 people who lived through the making of the films and shows that shaped so many of us, who were there on those sets, in those studios, in those moments that we still watch today. Some of them are still sharp and fully present. Some have stepped back, some are genuinely fragile. All of them are aging, because all of them are human, and the window to acknowledge them while they're still here is narrower than most of us want to think about. The films aren't going anywhere, but the people who made them are. If this video meant something to you, hit the like button and subscribe. There's more coming on classic Hollywood and the people who built it.